everyone, and welcome to Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I am Attorney Coral Plus, the host of this show, which is sponsored by Columbia Savings and Loan Association. So, speaking of Columbia Savings and Loan Association, I have an extra special guest in the studio with me this morning, Mr. Ernest Jones, who is the president and CEO of Columbia Savings and Loan Association. Mr. Jones, how are you this morning?
Good. Coral, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Looks like I have to switch my microphones around a little bit here, but I go with the flow, right? Yeah. So welcome, Ernie. Thank you for coming in today. And we wanted to talk particularly today about Columbia Savings because Columbia is celebrating a special anniversary. Will you tell us about that a little bit?
Sure. So the bank turned 100 years old this year, so it is the centennial. The date was, I believe, it's September 26th. So I'm in town today, just drove in from Madison because we have our centennial celebration at the Trade Hotel this evening.
Well, how unusual is that for a bank to turn 100 years old?
Very unusual, especially being a black bank. One
Yeah,
of few left in the country and the only black bank left in the state.
right.
Mhm.
And is Columbia the oldest black owned business in the state of
That's,
Wisconsin,
that's,
as far as we know?
yeah, yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. So 100 years, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. It's we had three between Legacy, North Milwaukee, and Columbia, but Columbia is the last one standing and the sixth oldest in the nation.
Wow. So
hmm
that is a huge accomplishment. So,
hmm
first of all, let me just say congratulations to you.
Well,
Congratulations for arriving at the centennial anniversary of Columbia.
well, you too.
Oh.
You are general counsel, so
Yeah, I am general counsel, but you are at the helm of the ship. And as the president and CEO of Columbia, I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for all that you do because Columbia might not be here today had you not stepped in and done the things that you've done in order to ensure not just the survival of this bank, but to set it up to prosper in the future.
well, thank you, Coral.
Well, it's
Thank you.
absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So, tell us a little bit more about Columbia in terms of it being a community bank. What does that mean to you?
So, and community banks are extremely important. Face, I mean, across the state and the nation, face a lot of challenges with bigger banks as they grow larger. You see a lot more community banks disappearing, and with Columbia in particular, I'd like to say it's a mission bank, which is what it is. It's not a stock bank; it's a mutual, much like a credit union. So, being that we don't have investors, the depositors are the members. And as far as this community, where you have, I was speaking with former Senator Lena Taylor last night. She's in Beloit speaking for at a function for the NAACP, which the Halyards, who started the bank here, founded there because they're originally from Beloit. But the fact that black businesses in particular are disappearing, and this is, I mean, this is the last black financial institution or bank. I'll put it like that. We have CDFIs, but this is the last black bank that we have. And once this goes, there are none left.
And so I don't want to assume any knowledge to project out. So I'm going to ask you to explain a little bit more the difference between a stock bank and a mutual. So what does that mean?
Sure. So stock banks have basically they buy shares. So the shares that are available for purchase. With a mutual, it's the members. So take for instance the credit union. Credit unions are technically owned by the members. So say we wanted to anybody want to invest, I don't know, say $1 million in the bank. Normally with a stock bank they would buy those shares, but there are no shares to buy with a mutual, which does make it difficult to operate as a mutual and a non-credit union because you can't buy shares. So the money that the bank makes is based on the deposits, the money that comes in. We loan that money out, and the bank makes their money from the interest on the loan.
Okay.
And with Columbia in particular, one of the big challenges is that it was the Halyards started the bank back in 1924 to afford the community home ownership because majority banks, white banks, weren't giving us money.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the mission then. It's still the mission now. We just have to move forward with our technology and offering more products to serve the community, in particular our community.
Okay. So part of the vision then with what I'm hearing you say of the Halyards 100 years ago, which still that blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I know how tough it is now, so I can begin to imagine some of the challenges they face. But
Sure.
but the issue was that there were Black people who, some of whom owned successful businesses in
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee or otherwise were well employed and had substantial enough earnings, but they still were not able to go and qualify for mortgage loans with the white owned institutions
That's right.
simply because they were Black.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so that was the whole idea behind starting Columbia Savings and Loan.
That's right. And much like now as it was back then, Black folks needed own homes and had places to live, high rents. The money was not coming back into the community, and I'm not sure if it was the case then, but I guess it is now. In a mortgage, even though the rates are as high as they are, people complain about high rates when it comes to home ownership. Once you get into a mortgage, rents are high. So in most cases, you're paying more in rent than you are a monthly mortgage, and with rent, you don't own.
Right.
You're not investing.
I know just even in recent years, I've been shocked by what people express that they actually pay for rent.
Oh yeah.
Like if you rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Milwaukee, it's nothing to pay $1,200 or $1,500 or maybe even more.
In a lot of cases, more than that. I think last I checked, 1 bedroom, you're probably talking 12. Well, 1 bedroom, $1,250, $1,500.
Wow.
Depending on where you live, though.
Right.
But but you can get into a mortgage in a similar space.
Yeah.
And your monthly payments, and that money goes back in. The house becomes your bank.
Right.
With rent, once you pay that rent,
right,
you're never gonna see it again.
Yeah, I know the very first home that I bought was in the Sherman Park area, and I lived there, owning that home for about 7 years. And by the time I sold that home, it had increased so much in value that I basically got back every single payment I had put in when I sold it, because it was more than double the price of the home at that time. So it was as if I lived for free for 7 years.
No, it's true. It's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. So people don't necessarily understand that. So it looks like we have a caller, and please, caller, go ahead with your question.
Oh, good morning. Throat's a little scratchy this morning, so please forgive me. I'll do the best I can. I hope I'm coming through not too rough here, but it's rough this morning. I got to get my lemons, limes, and my citrus and stuff. I'm behind.
Oh, okay. You're not feeling well this morning?
Well, I'm in and out the house. I mean, it's scratchy throat there. Whatever the virus is that's going around, it's trying to beat me up, but I'm fighting back. I'm a fighter. I'm a July 28th baby, so I'm a fighter.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I'm a lover too, though. Don't get that twisted. I'm a straight up lover though too. So don't run too far.
All right.
but good morning, Mr. Ernie. Good morning, Miss Cora.
How you doing?
Good morning.
Tyrone Debbie speaking. Good morning, Mr. Rideout. Good morning, Mr. Carvey. Good morning, Milwaukee. Yes. Boy, this is the time of year, man. Chicken noodle soup and all this other stuff because, man, boy, whoo. Man, it's almost like they're trying to kill us with this stuff in the air, the water, man. I don't know, man. Callbacks on the food and stuff, man. Shoot, man.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. Do you have a question specific for?
I do. Kind of like what we had talked about a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Ernie, and I just wanted not to put our bank on the spot or anything, but I wanted to know, you speak about the interest, making the interest. And,
absolutely.
And let's talk about the interest on the interest. Now that's making somebody's pockets fat there. I mean, So.
Okay, well, we're going to be Tyrone, we're going to be very happy to clear that up for you today. I actually, one of the reasons that I asked Mr. Jones in particular to come on today, because I think I told you a couple of weeks ago when you posed the question, I'm going to bring the right person to give a response on that. So,
absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm certainly tuned in and listening. So the interest on the interest, which means, you've made the first layer of interest, and then now the interest on the, because we're talking millions and billions here.
Well, before we get to that, though, and
Mhm.
we will address it, you also had a question about nonprofits. So I'm going to
Yes,
ask Mr. Jones
yes,
to clear the air on
absolutely.
that and to talk about whether or not Columbia Savings and Loan is a nonprofit entity.
Right, and then not only that, but nonprofits, once they, even with the interest there, once they get so far down the road with the interest and everything, even though their money has been given to them, what do they do with the interest then, and the interest on the interest on the interest?
Well, we're here to talk about Columbia today, which
Oh,
is
okay,
which
well,
is
okay, well, yeah,
not
yeah,
a
we can,
nonprofit. I can't even wait and let him answer the question. I want to be
okay,
so
all right, yeah, well,
absolutely crystal
I didn't
clear
want to
about
swing,
that.
I didn't want to swing too wide there, but yeah, we didn't, I didn't want to put our
No,
banks
no,
on the
you're
spot.
fine. We
Yeah,
understand the question. So thank
okay.
you so much for
Say
calling
say
today.
hi to sister for me, and have a great weekend, a wonderful weekend, and stay well.
Okay, will do.
Get your lemons in and your orange juice.
Thank
Love
you
you.
so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Ernie, where would you like to start with that? I mean, first, I just address the initial question about nonprofit status.
Okay. Well, I think you answered it already. Or sometimes I wish we were a nonprofit. It'd be a lot easier.
Right. I want everybody to hear it come from the lips of the man in charge.
Okay. So where do I start? Well, let me start here. So first of all, we're one of the smallest banks. We have 20. I think last time I checked, the $23 million in assets, total assets. So that includes deposits, the building that we're in, and the income generated from um, the mortgages. Now, since we only offer one product right now, well, not one product, mortgage. We make money on mortgages, our deposits, and our CDs, which are all well below rate when it comes. And that's one of the issues that we have. That's why it's so important that we call us a mission bank. We're not in competition with other banks because with our rates we can't compete. And it's a mission bank and a community bank because most of our customers, most banks won't lend in the community because of the risk factor. So that's why we have partner banks and we depend on the community depositing money. That money comes in to be lent out to people who wouldn't necessarily qualify at majority banks or may not even get through the door. Now, that's just a little bit of background. When it comes to the interest, the only interest we make is on the loans, and our interest rates are our average interest rate is below the national rate. Interest on the interest, I'm not sure if I understand that question. Um, I mean, we have investments, so some of the money goes into we work with Federal Home Loan Bank. But the only interest that we make is on the loans and the small interest on deposits. Now, when it comes to us, I think this is a huge misconception, and Coral can speak to this. Anybody involved internally with the bank knows that no one's getting rich here. We're not. Coral and I definitely aren't doing it for the money because we're both attorneys and we were making a lot more money. We're doing it because it's a passion, and it's not even a wanting to do it; it's having to do it. And that's the way I see it. So there have been months where I haven't paid myself. Coral hasn't paid herself. Consultants have held off just to make sure that this bank is stable. Now we're stable. We're in the best position that we've been in since I've been on the board since 2019. But we're still everybody's sacrificing here. So I guess interest on the interest. Not exactly sure what that means, but that's hopefully that answers your question.
Well, I was going to add to this. So the bank has overhead, right? I mean, the bank
Right.
has staff that it has to pay.
Operating the building,
right?
Insurance, anything that comes with it, it's a business. It's a business, and it's a for-profit business, which is to make money.
Right.
But that's not the priority, especially at least not now. Hopefully, we'll grow where we can start making money and living like you suggested, but but we're far from there. But we're growing slowly but surely, and we're being very strategic in how we grow, just to make sure that we keep this institution open for another 100 years.
Right. And I know sometimes the people that have not been in business don't understand that concept of needing to control the growth of a business. But I've had that same question posed to me with respect to my law firm. Why don't you advertise here? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? businesses, especially small businesses, can be killed by growth if it grows too fast.
That's right.
You've got to have the staff in place. You've got to have the systems in place. You got to be able to handle an influx of business in order to remain stable throughout that influx of business. So those are all factors to consider.
Right.
True.
Oh, absolutely. Even with the bank. I mean, I'm president CEO, but I'm always the last to get paid if I do.
Right.
Even with a bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And and I hope you don't mind me just saying this to put that out there, but you went a whole year without paying yourself anything when you first came on board.
That's
just
right.
to stabilize this bank and make sure that it was going to be okay.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. So again, and I don't want people to get the wrong impression, the bank is stable now.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, but it took that, and we're still making sacrifices in order to stabilize.
Right.
But we're in great shape.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And it looks like we have another caller that's holding. Caller, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm calling in to just say to the Black community, or to the community, period. Invest in Columbia Savings and Loan on long-term projects. Open up an account where you're not going to be going in getting the money right away, which is going to help the bank. We want to be successful. Don't go and figure, oh, I'm going to put something in so that I can borrow some money. No. Let's do one thing right, and let's make Columbia Savings and Loan wealthy so that later on it can turn around and invest and help more people out. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have said it better. What do you think, Ernie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No.
Well, that's what I'm going to be talking up in our community. It's time out for looking for something. Let's build something up, and we can do that. But let's get this election behind us, and I'm telling you, this is the most serious election around. And if we want to continue for Columbia Savings and Loans and any other business to be successful, we better be about the business. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, did you want to speak to that?
Oh, yeah, no, I love that. Well, customers or community members like that. That's why we sacrifice.
Right.
And no, it's perfect timing because that call, especially because, there were a lot of doubters out there when it came to saving this bank.
Right.
I still get questions about how's the bank doing? Are you guys going to close? No. I don't know where you're hearing that from. Far from that. But it does take the community, especially the community, and our other partners, whether it's government or our bank partners who have been crucial in putting money in the bank to lend out. But that's she's absolutely right on with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how she put it too, that, calling to the community to come and put money in the bank that you can leave there for a while.
Right.
Let that money grow. Let that money accrue interest and so forth, and leave it there. And instead of not necessarily coming in and saying, hey, well, what can the bank do for me?
Right.
Well, it takes the community to build the bank and ensure the future of the bank. It can't always be everything going out.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff needs to come in.
That's right.
So thank you so much, caller. That I should have gotten her name. Sorry that I missed it, but thank you so much for that. So that's a nice segue though, Ernie, because one of the things that I have in my notes, because always have some sort of notes or outlines. I mean, you and I talk for hours all the time anyway, but I want to make sure that our discussion today is productive and fruitful for the people who are listening. And along the lines, when we talked about Columbia being a mission bank, we talked about relationships being important. So that's a nice segue from the comments that the caller mentioned. So how important are relationships in mission banking?
I think they're crucial. Anytime you're working with somebody and they're trusting you with their money, that's a huge responsibility. So you have to establish those relationships just to make sure that, there has to be a trust. And whether it's customers or our partners or even governmental entities like the regulators, you have to be able to communicate and keep good relationships even when you're holding people's money. So it's one of those things where the relationships mean everything. In any business, really. I mean, you operated a law firm. I used to publish a newspaper in Madison too. So, the easier it is to establish good relationships.
Right.
I guess I should have made that distinction. I'm talking about good relationships.
Well, we've got some good relationships because I see the phone lines lighting up, but it looks like we are on task to take a break right now. So if the callers can hold, then we'll try to get you on the air with your questions after we come back from our break. So this is Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I have with me in the studio this morning Mr. Ernest Jones, who is the president and CEO of Columbia Savings and Loan Association, which is celebrating 100 years of being in business. And in fact, tonight at the Trade Milwaukee, we are having a centennial celebration that starts at 6 p.m. tonight. We'll have some more details on that later in the show. Thank you. Association. Thank you again, Ernie, for being here.
No, no problem.
Yes. So I'm going to go right into the fact that we've got a call holding. And let's see. Caller, thank you for holding. Please go ahead.
My name is Andrew Ward. I have some experience with Columbia Savings and Loan. I used to work for United Realty as a broker, real estate agent. And one of the trustees, board members of Columbia Savings and Loan, I suggested to him, and I knew he was a member, I suggested that I go get a mortgage from them. He directed me elsewhere. I did finally get a loan from Columbia Savings and Loan, but I refinanced it at another place later. The point I'm trying to make is Columbia Savings and Loan could do very well if they competed with the other mortgage companies by offering better rates and better terms, and that would not cost them. It would make them money. It's from my experience. If you have a mortgage at Educators Credit Union, the amortization schedule, the amortization program at Educators Credit Union for mortgages, where you want to pay extra on your mortgage to accelerate your amortization schedule, that happens automatically at Educators. For example, you could pay 2 mortgages at one time. Everything except the interest would be on the principal, and you would be a month ahead. And my idea is we should try, Columbia Savings Loan should try to take some mortgages from people who already have mortgages and give them better terms, and forget about the 20% down for the best mortgage rate. Just look at the value of the home and consider that. And I would love to talk to Ernest whenever and however, and y'all have a good one. I'll leave my information.
Okay, thank you. And this is Dr. Ward, correct?
Yes, it is.
And I remember that because you called the show months ago, and you were telling us similarly that there had been a person on the director board that
What was it? What was the CEO before? What was the president before? I dealt with him.
Okay, you might have dealt with Mr. Gary or Mr. Allen, who was
I think it was Gary.
Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate that a director would in my opinion, that's unfortunate that they would
that
advise
was in
you.
The 70s and 80s.
Okay. Well, there's a whole brand new board there now. But I'm going to ask
I'm gonna give you his name, B.T. Brooks.
Okay. Well, I don't know who that would have been. Were you born, Ernie? Maybe. Maybe. Dr. Ward, we appreciate
working at United Realty.
Yeah. We appreciate your question. I'm going to let Mr. Jones answer that, but I'm going to ask you to go on hold, and then Jermaine will grab your contact information. And thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ward. And I hope to meet you soon. Thanks for calling in. So I guess try to answer the question. Maybe once we meet, then I can answer it better, just for sake of time and more specificity. So when it comes to rates, as I said earlier, well, first let me start here. So like I said earlier, our total asset size is $23 million, and we call it a micro bank. A small bank throughout the industry, if you're at 250 million, you're a small bank. So, and Educators, I believe they're a credit union. And so credit union, they have different statuses, and they're not regulated like banks either, which is that's a whole nother story. They're not regulated by FDIC and DFI, which changes things also. But as far as the rates go, our rates are below market. like I said, at this point, we may be at 5.5 or 6% on the rates, where the national average is, I think, around 6.5, 7. Last time I checked. So when it comes, and the other thing is too, there are times where we don't require 20% down. In fact, we have grant programs for homeowners assistance, home buyers assistance, excuse me, for down payment assistance. That's what I was looking for. So as far as the rates go, and we have to keep the rates down with the average customer that comes in the bank. If we were going to base it on the national average, we'd be around 8, 9, 10%. So, and that's if you qualify for a mortgage with a bank outside of us. So we do need to get better loans and, at higher rates, just so we can be competitive. But the community, we're doing our best to make these houses affordable. And given the rate position, sometimes we have to go around the rate or below, where anywhere else the rate would be much higher than the national average. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any more questions, I can just schedule a meeting with you. I'd like to sit down and talk to you. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think that sounds like Dr. Ward has had experiences with Columbia that go back decades, and there may be some wisdom or a wealth of knowledge that we might gain from having an opportunity to speak with Dr. Ward. So we appreciate you calling in, Dr. Ward, and I do remember. I remember the voice and the name from many months ago, and my memory is pretty sharp about things. But okay, so Ernie, that's another good segue. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and we'll come full circle, and the audience will understand why I'm connecting these two things. I want to dispel this myth that you fired everybody. Let's talk about that, please.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm just coming right at you with that, right?
Yeah. No, I've heard some, rumors as far as that goes. So I can dispel those rumors. We have had a complete turnover of staff since I came on the board, and even since I've been president and CEO. Now, the culture at the bank right now is, I came in to save the bank from closure, and I was former banking attorney for the state, so I know a little bit about the regulations and everything that it takes to keep the bank open. Not just money is what some people don't understand unless you're in the industry. Regulations are tight. It may be the most highly regulated industry in the country, especially with financial crises and bank run, all that stuff you hear in the news. So,
and you're being modest. You know more than just a little bit about regulations.
Yeah,
you advised others in the legal capacity.
Oh, sure, yes. And so I'm trying to remember, what was the staff,
right?
So, and staff have been the board. We have a whole new board, but the staff, it's a different culture, and if all the people that left the bank, employees, left on their own. Now, I want to make that straight. I haven't fired anybody, and but people have decided to resign for whatever reason, whether it's the culture or the fact that things aren't what they used to be. And I surmise that that's the case here. But as far as terminating or firing the staff, as far as our turnover goes, that did not happen. That everyone chose to leave.
Well, isn't it true that one of the reasons you came on and agreed to accept this role as president is because you wanted to save jobs at Columbia?
That's the only reason I stayed on. I was on the board, but I never intended to be in this role. And when former President Allen left abruptly, I was board chairman, and if I decided to leave myself, they would have closed the bank.
Well,
the regulators, I mean.
And I want to take yet another step back and just talk about this a little bit too for context. You had an experience with the closure of North Milwaukee. Can you tell us just enough about that, just for context, in terms of what we're talking about, why you were passionate and wanted to save Columbia and not see people lose their jobs?
Sure. So when I was banking attorney for the state, I was technically a regulator, regulating banks with Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, and I believe 2017, whatever. I was there when the FDIC and DFI closed North Milwaukee. I think I told the story on the last show too, but I'll tell it again. And Friday afternoon, FDIC, DFI go in, and, shut down. It's without warning. So I was there for that. And North Milwaukee was the second to last Black financial institution in the state.
And that was a 50-year-old institution,
Right.
was it not, or
Yep.
thereabouts?
Yep.
Yeah.
And later, I learned from my father, my grandmother, I think it was Mary Ellen Shedd at the time, she was one of the founders
Of North Milwaukee.
That's right.
Right.
So I just, from that day going forward, I said that we only have one left. I'm not going to be, this will never happen again.
Yeah. And that was difficult to see and experience. I can imagine the staff that was on site was shocked when regulators came in to close down the bank.
Yep.
So, without warning, that's what happened on a Friday afternoon, and people lost their jobs.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And the staff, similar to ours, all Black, half a dozen Black women that were there at the time. They had no idea. But that's how it happens.
Right.
No, it was not a good day.
Right. So moving forward, and then there you are with Columbia, and you mentioned a change of culture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Making sure that it's a safe, sound place to bank. Regulations for over a decade were not being followed, and there was just a lot of contributing. There was just a lot to clean up. I don't know how much detail I can go into, but it was not in great shape, only because, well, many reasons. One is the fact that we're not modern. We haven't modernized, and even with with the mortgages, there were still a lot of violations. When it comes to regulations, a lot of things have changed over the years, and Columbia was not keeping up with the changes in regulations, and we're violating these new regulations. And when you do that, you're a lawyer. If you don't, you're unknowingly violating regulations. But there's, ignorance of the law is not.
I was about to say it. I was just about to say it.
Yeah. So that was and even with Ray being there, because Ray was secretary of DFI and I was his attorney at the time. So, and then Steve Moore was on the board. He's a regulator. You needed, in this case, I believe you needed former regulators that know the regulations that come in order to fix everything. And when you've been there as long as, board members and the employees, if you're not up to speed, they will shut you down if you keep violating the regulations.
Right.
You and I worked with the regulators for a while. I used to be one, and they don't play.
Yeah. So this wasn't a situation where you could, be Mr. Nice Guy. You had to be firm. You had to be stern.
Yep.
In order to save the ship, basically.
Well, every decision that I make and the board makes, the goal is to keep this bank. It's open. We're stabilized now. Now we just have to build.
Right.
And that's why every decision I make is for the bank and the community. Every decision.
Right.
There's no individual when it comes to this.
Well, that's what I was about to underscore. It's funny because you say it right as I'm thinking it, and it is true. This bank is bigger than any one person.
Right.
This is about. It would be great to have had everyone, but this was about saving the institution.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Because the institution belongs to the members, and this is something to benefit the community as a whole.
That's a fact.
Right.
Yep.
So whole new staff on board now.
That's right. And I'm glad that we have, with the new staff that we have, they do have banking experience. They're eager to learn, they're doing training, but everyone involved right now that's working with the bank is there because they want to be, and they want to be a part of this bank. So it's not, even with the new employees, I mean, everybody got to make money to live, but they believe in the mission.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So what's been the difference in terms of loan volume with the new staff on board?
Oh, that's a good question. So even with the turnover in staff, since through July, I believe we had only done 2 loans.
For the year of 2024?
Right. And then I think the month of August, we tripled the volume
Exactly.
with the new staff.
With brand new staff.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And we're doing more deals too. So,
right.
Yep. No.
More good stuff coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely. Yep.
So let me say, with respect to that, while we're on this, we have a loan officer who is an outstanding individual that's working with us now.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a brief period of time when we were down a loan officer and we were not in the position to take new applications. But I would like to say that we're open for business.
Yes.
And come with your loans. The phone number is 414-374-0486. That is the number to Columbia Savings and Loan Association. I'll give it again, 414-374-0486. Please call Columbia Savings and Loan Association if you're interested in a mortgage loan in particular. Give us a call and set up an appointment to come in and meet with our loan officer or our executive assistant, who can take basic information to relay to the loan officer. And we can take you into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to make sure I said that today, because I've been holding off on saying that a while until we had ourselves not only adequately staffed, but get everybody trained and in position to do what they do.
Right.
So what are your thoughts in terms of how we're situated now?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Coral, because I thought about it on the drive-in. And this is something where, you and I have dealt with customers who are none too pleased when it comes to the transition. And even what I want to get into is I would like to ask everyone that works with Columbia just to be patient, even with the turnover in staff. So opening of accounts, we have new staff, but even when it comes to dealing with, if there's a problem with your mortgage or anything else like that, we have the expertise, but with the as far as fixing the issue. So, but we do appreciate the patience of everyone when it comes to, and the people that stick with us, because we have had some depositors leave based on, whatever. But at the end of the day,
I would say fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And misplaced fear. But sometimes people would come in and say, I don't know anybody here.
Right.
And then they make a knee-jerk reaction.
Sure.
And but they're coming to know the faces.
Right.
And
because it takes time.
It does take time
to adjust.
Yeah. Well, you were talking earlier in the show, and we were talking about a mission bank, and you said the importance of relationships. And this is part of it. You hear me say it all the time, as such generalization, but I believe it's a true one. As Black people, we are relational people.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know who the people are, and so I make a point of not just staying in my office. I'll come out in the lobby and I'll say, hi, I'm general counsel, and I'm starting to know some of the names of the different customers. And they appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
People want you to know, who they are, especially if they've been banking there since 1960.
Right.
They want you to know, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a little while, but one of the things that I enjoy watching with Yumika, who is our lead teller, when the customers, either if they come in the lobby or if they come through the drive-up window, she calls them by name.
Mm-hmm.
She's been there since July 29th. I think that was her first official day. So not even 90 days yet.
Right.
But the customers that come, there's, like generally a routine, this person comes on this day or that person usually comes on that time.
Mm-hmm.
And she pays attention and she addresses the majority of our customers by name. And I respect that. And I think that they, appreciate that about her.
Oh, yeah.
So we're getting there. The people come in, don't know us, give us time.
Well, even when Olivia was there.
Right.
Over the summer, for a couple of months.
Right. And I know even with talking with Olivia, there were a number of customers that were sad to see her go. And I said, she's a full-time college student. She was with us for the summer. She has to go because she has to complete her education.
Mm-hmm.
However, she has already given me her schedule for Christmas break. Mm-hmm. She fully expects to, have us rotate her back into the schedule in the teller area because she's looking forward to continuing to be a a part of our team, and so we value and appreciate Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another caller that has called in. Caller, please go ahead with your question or comment. Thank you.
Yes, hi. I'm glad to see you guys are back on board. What I'm calling about is that I'm asking the community, if you have a grandchild or a family member that's a very young person, instead of a big birthday party, put $2,500 in that account for 18 years or 15 years or whatever, and let it grow. And every month or whatever week or whatever, put a $25 and $100 in, because that can be a loan for that child for school, for college, maybe buying a home one day. But I did that with a relative when they turned 19 last year. I put $500 into an account for them. I gave them a little bit of the money. I said, let this sit there when you need different things. Teach them how to do banking, okay? And you know what? That person still has most of that money in their account, and they are in school, in a technical school. So if you can donate money to, instead of just having a big $300 party or a $500 party, put some of that money in the bank for those kids for college or something like that, for maybe a home one day. So if you put that away, $25 every month, we all in the community can start out donating something. We buy snacks and chips and goodies all the time and get our hair and nails done. We need to support this bank, and you can start out with a small amount and work your way up, and gain their trust, and they gain your trust, and you have a community there then. But myself, when I get a chance this month, are you open on Saturdays? I'll open a small account up with you. I do have an account because I've been working for years, so I do have a bank myself. I have a home. It's not that loan is paid for already, but I'm looking at something different one day, and I'm hoping to look at doing business with you guys. So I'm just asking the community to come out and just open up a small account, and let's just get started with the bank to help support them at this time. We always say we don't have anything in our community. We don't want to lose this bank. I'm going to tell you about savings and loans and banks and stuff. Guaranteed, I believe they went out of business. A lot of places, Wells Fargo had a lot of trouble with their banking for quite some time. So it's not that this bank has problems. We all got different things we have to update and do in life in times like that. It's not just a black business at all, or we're talking about the other place over there on North, what Fond du Lac back then. There's all types of financial institutions who have problems and have to relook at things and update their stuff. That's why it's important to have their children to go to accounting school or be a lawyer, so they can help these kind of places out if they need the help also. That's called saving your money so you can put it towards something good, so we can have a great place here. That's what I'm saying. I like what y'all, the mission of what y'all are talking about. And I always said I was going to do something. This is Kathy, but I haven't. But no, I'm going to open up a little account and put something in there, for myself or for a relative that maybe a kid's going to be getting out of high school, and I want them to have something later, and they can get a loan there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. No, the bank is not open on Saturdays. I want to make sure that I'm able to at least answer that question. But I'll have Attorney Jones speak to your other comments when we come back from the break. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate your information. Okay, sure. We have to take a quick break, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I'm Attorney Coral Plez, and I have Ernest Jones, the president and CEO of Columbia Savings and Loan Association, in the studio with me this morning. Delighted to have you here, Ernie. We had a very interesting, positive call right before we went to break.
Oh, yeah.
Will you speak to her inquiry a little bit there, please?
Sure. When we were during the break, we talked about the caller and said, wish we had
a whole lot more like her.
Yeah. No, thank you for the call. And again, that's why we do what we do. And she also made a point about how, because I was going to say this earlier, we want to, once we have to keep this bank, because if the bank is gone, it's gone. And especially after 100 years and being the 6th oldest in the nation, which I think in addition to the 100 years and being the 6th oldest in the country, that's pretty amazing.
I say so too. I mean, and we're in Wisconsin.
Right. In Milwaukee, and with that 53205, I believe still the poorest zip code in the state.
I didn't know that, but that's not surprising to hear.
Yeah. If at least within the last few years, it may have changed, but yeah. And also, I wanted to dovetail off that to talk about. You mentioned it earlier, Coral, as far as investing in the bank. Now, the deposits, like I said earlier, we lend the money out and make the interest off that, but that money comes slow as far as the income from the interest. So, as a mutual, since we don't have the ability to have people buy shares to invest, we have received grant funds from partner banks, Port Washington State Bank in particular, and even from Damon Dorsey. I think you were going to talk about him. He's one of our new board members. His organization is giving us grant funds too. And I have a consultant that we're working with now to identify grant funds for Black businesses and Black institutions such as Columbia. So.
And it would be important to identify grant funds, among other things, to try to help with the technology that you mentioned earlier that we need to get caught up with.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know that's a frustration with our customers. It would be mine too. But in order to modernize, we do have to invest in technology, which is coming. But in order to get there, we have to generate the income and get investors or grant funds in order to modernize it, because that's crucial. Once we do that, then I look forward to that day where we're able to be a modern bank.
Right. I look forward to that too.
Yeah.
And that's always the question that people ask. When are you going online? When are you guys going online? Because people don't understand that there are significant costs associated with all of those types of transitions.
Their costs and their regulations you have to follow in addition to that.
Right.
It's a lot of money, to your point.
Right. A lot of money and a lot of regulations.
That's right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so the only other thing that I was going to just add to, with respect to the last caller, that's a great idea to open an account and then let it grow for a young person like that. Absolutely. So that when they come of age to pursue their education or whatever the case may be, that there's some support there. And I just wish there were more people that thought ahead like that for our youth.
Well, and especially with our community, there's a pride to say, I have money in the Black bank.
Right.
I mean, my money's there.
Right.
So.
Right. So, let's talk more about the event that's coming up this evening, the Centennial Celebration that will be at the Trade. It is today, this evening, the 24th of October at 6 p.m. at the Trade Hotel, which is 420 West Juneau Avenue in Milwaukee. And Ernie, tell us what we can expect in terms of the event this evening.
Sure. So I wish I had the run a show in front of me, but
sorry.
Okay.
All right, if you forget anybody, I'll have to jog my brain.
So
but you won't.
No, hope not to. So I mean, we're having our banking partners, members, we would have had it last month. We were so busy, and it took a while to book it. I know we had a lot of customers asking about what we're doing for the Centennial. So this is what we're doing. We do have a list of speakers. I'll wait till you get, and I won't tell you on the radio who it is. I'll wait till you get there. But I think you'll be happy with the speakers that we have that are presenting proclamations, and give you a hint, proclamations and things of that nature, celebrating for the 100th anniversary.
So we'll have music.
Oh, that's right.
And we'll have food.
That's right.
Right. And we'll have all of us, right? We'll have our staff, we'll have our members, we'll have hopefully whoever's listening that's interested that would still like to come and join us for this event. I believe that we do still have seats available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know this, I'm going to say it, that I think you told me. The only thing I'm sad about is Stevie Wonder's in town.
Oh.
Right next door.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I told you that I found that out. I was here in the studio doing the show and I was talking about, yeah, we're gonna have the centennial. Then I looked right over your shoulder there's a flat screen up there and I saw that they were advertising Stevie Wonder on the 24th of October, and I thought, all right, I don't know. I know we can't compete with that, but I believe Stevie Wonder doesn't start until 8 p.m. So
true.
come check us out at 6 o'clock. And
it may be sold out too.
And it could well be.
Well, I checked.
Yeah. Oh, you did? All right. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. So Ernie and I are the best of friends, and we have this debate going on back and forth between us that who's the greatest, Stevie Wonder or Prince. So maybe we'll take that up on another show, but that's the ongoing debate between the two of us. Ernie is in camp. Stevie Wonder is the genius of all geniuses. And I think that Prince noses him out. So, all right, I'll take my hits for that because I don't know if people are going to like that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for coming today. We'll have to have you again because there's so much more to talk about. And as this bank continues to prosper and succeed, we will continue to bring you and others in to talk about it and share the excitement with the community. Columbia Savings and Loan, 100 years old. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Coral.
860 AM 106.